Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and this is the series where I reveal what is inside these mystery pottery molds I found on Gumtree. Hello and welcome to mold 81. This week is probably, I'm gonna call it and say this is going to be hard to beat as my number one favorite mold so far in the series. So it is two molds, but they go together. Someone guessed it on the YouTube last week. They said, is it a... And I really wanted to tell you that you were right, but I had to keep it a secret until now. So I pour it up both sides. They were quite large, needed a lot of clay to fill them up. So I used the bucket instead of the little pouring jug. But I opened the first mold up and it's this beautiful long mushroom platter. And then the other mold is a dish to go on top for a mushroom butter dish. I love it. I am so obsessed. When I poured this up, I was literally like screaming. I was so tempted to share it already because I was so excited. I love mushroom pottery. I always have, and I love that it's had this massive resurgence in the past like 12 months, and especially just mushroom art in general. It's just made my heart so happy that there's this love and appreciation for them again. Not like it ever disappeared, but I feel like there's more popular trend with mushrooms. Anyway, this mushroom itself, you might recall seeing this style of mushroom before, is because we have done a part of this collection already. So this piece is a part of the Arnold's mushroom collection that was also very similar to that Sears Merry mushroom collection. I am not sure the correlation between the Arnold's and the Sears collection. All I know is that I'm pretty sure the Sears was first, and then Arnold's brought out these molds so you can make your own sort of merry mushroom collection at home. But from my research, I haven't seen this butter dish come up too often. I have seen the salt and pepper shakers, I've seen the teapot and the teacups, which I would love to find the teapot and teacups, but I haven't seen this butter dish come up too often, and it is so delightful. I'd like to say that this mold itself was super cruisy. Sometimes with molds, especially that first Arnold's mushroom mold that I've done already in the series, it was so hard to pour, it was so hard to tip out, it was really a bit tricky and finicky, whereas this mold was so simple. Just poured it in, poured it out, opened it up, trimmed it up, and it's ready to paint. It just could not be better in my eyes. So with the fact that I've already done a Merry Mushroom type piece, what I did with that one was I added little smiley faces, and I was trying to, I guess, break away from that sort of typical style of what these pieces used to look like. But this time I'm just going full into what they typically look like, with just a standard sort of toadstool looking mushroom with the dots, and also doing some colors that were often seen on those Arnold's collections back in the 70s, but also sort of playing with my own color palettes. So I've done one that's sort of a bit of a summery color palette with some sort of tropical reds, mustards, orange, and this sort of like fun sea blue. Another set I'm about to paint, I've done it with pastel colors because I love seeing the pastel merry mushrooms that come up every now and then. And then I painted the other two off camera because, I mean, it's just painting mushroom caps. I'm sure you can watch me do that for ages, but I don't know. I was just like, you've seen what I'm doing. So I painted them off camera. I've done a red one. You can kind of see in the background of this clip, actually. I did a red one just to play on that fairy toadstool vibe. And then I also did a brown, orange, and yellow one, which is playing sort of that ode to that 70s color palette that you often saw with the Arnold's collections back when they were made. Now, I am going to share a little thing I like to do when I'm having an artist block or a creative block, or just feeling like super overwhelmed by the thought of starting a new project. I like to draw mushrooms. So I think mushrooms are so fabulous and timeless because you can create them very cute, very eerie, very creepy, very fun, very energetic, psychedelic. They have so many genres that they can slip and slide into, and they also have so many different types of species. So if you're having artist block right now, get a piece of paper out, have a look up at some different species of mushrooms and just do some little like line work sketches of little mushrooms and add some color, maybe add some faces to them, change the different color palettes you're working with. They are such a fun way to sort of release that energy when you're feeling so sort of pent up and unsure where to start. So I love mushies for that because the shapes can be very simplified, but they can also be very detailed and very wonderful to look at. Regardless of what you do, it always looks great. So it pulls that fear of failure out as well when you're having an artist block day. Anyway, let's get on to the glazing. So the platter was too long to fit in my bucket, so I had to do it one end and then flip it over and then dip the other end. And then as for the butter dish, I poured glaze on the inside and then I dipped it on the outside as well. And I totally walked over the fact how cute the little butter dish handle is. It's a little 3 mushrooms that you picked it up with. It's just so adorable and such a lovely feature. Like, I feel like if that was a normal handle, it just wouldn't have that as much of a cutesy element about it. And I think that that's why these vintage molds are so wonderful, is that they have all that quirkiness about them that just makes your heart swoon. I popped these in. I couldn't fit them all in my kiln in the one firing, so I had to do 2 firings. And doing pieces like this always puts it into perspective how tiny my kiln is. So I did some Tetrising, and here is the finished result of some of them. The other ones went into another kiln firing, but let's take a look at all of them now. So first off, we have the brown, yellow, and orange. This one pays an ode to the original Arnold's mushrooms or the Sears mushrooms in that 70s colorway. I just had to try it this time. That's all this was. I really just had to give it a go and see how the finished result would look, and I adore it. The next one was this gorgeous summer palette, which was my own sort of, I want to play with some vibrant fun colors. So I've got a rusty red, orange, a sort of mustardy yellow, it's a little bit more rich, and a sort of sea blue color as well. I love this colorway. It is so gorgeous. I did notice on the dish part that it did have some clay discoloration on this piece and also on this red one. So I don't know whether it's because of my clay or maybe they were the first 2 casts from the mold and it's got some sort of residual left over from the previous owner, but regardless, it's all fine. It glazed over. It might just be a fun little element that makes it a little bit different, and that's why you buy handmade, right? It all is unique and quirky. I love the red toadstools. I think they are fabulous as always, and here is the pastel one as well. The pastels are so dreamy and fairy-like, which I adore. I think each of these have their own sentimental statement, like they all have their own vibe, which is so cool for something that has such a lined out design that you can have so many different vibes from it. The only thing with the pastel one is I had a weird glaze reaction that I haven't seen on my pieces before. It was like this, it's sort of like shivered off the piece, but it's, yeah, it's really bizarre. So I'll have to look into that. Maybe it's just one of those things. Anyway, what do you think of this mold? Is it as highly up there as it is for me? Because I just think this is the best. It was such a great mold to work with. It was so easy to pour. It was so fun to paint and so many options to paint it with. Let me know what colors you would paint this mold in the comments. And here is your sneak peek for next week. And I'm still undecided what to paint it. So pop some random suggestions in the comments and maybe I might pick one of yours. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe and see you next time.